Hey, everybody, it's me, Amelia Lady B, and welcome back to my channel, Millennial in Menopause. Today, I want to pose the question, when was your first time hearing about menopause? My first time hearing about menopause was back in the 90s, an episode of The Cosby Show when Claire entered menopause. So, this episode is called Claire's Liberation. If you have not seen that episode, I encourage you to go check it out, find it on YouTube, somewhere it's streaming. So, I said I was about 9 years old because it was like 1990, I think it was. So, kind of a coincidence because I started my menstrual cycle when I was 9 years old as well. So I started my menstrual and I heard about menopause all at the same time. Now, mind you, at 9 years old, I didn't take in everything, but that episode really harped around like the cliches. I won't even say they're cliches, it's like the truth. But the cliches of menopause, where the hot flashes, the mood swings, and things like that, the brain fog, that episode was just hilarious. It starts off where she comes home and she tells her children, and it was Theo, Vanessa, and cousin Pam in the kitchen, and she tells them that she has entered menopause because they asked her about her doctor's appointment or something like that. And they were like, oh. So they start kind of talking about her as if she's like gone, like she has just gone on, like her life is over at this point because she's entered menopause. And she overhears them talking about her. So her and her husband Cliff decide to play a prank on them during dinner to kind of bring out all of those cliches at one time. It was absolutely hilarious. But that was my first time hearing about menopause. As I got older and come time for my hysterectomy, I had completely forgot about some of those cliches. I really thought menopause was only hot flashes. I mean, that's pretty much what most women only talk about. So I wanted to ask you, when was your first time hearing about menopause, and what specifically did you hear about menopause? And I want you to write some things in the comments because I would love to hear from you. So I posed that question mainly to kind of bring up a conversation because I heard about that my first time at 9, and then moving along in my life up to age 33, I hadn't heard any more about it. Of course, you hear people say, oh, I'm going through the change, but that's pretty much it. We don't really hear or have conversations surrounding it. And recently Oprah had like a roundtable discussion with some of her friends. It was a You had to pay to watch it. I didn't see it. I just saw the clips that everyone else saw via her social media regarding the conversation about menopause and how what symptoms they felt when they started perimenopause and things like that. And I just find it very interesting that we not only do we not talk about menstrual cycles, but we don't really talk about our women's health issues outside of like breast cancer, maybe even ovarian cancer. But we don't talk about, painful periods. We don't talk about, we're just now starting to talk about fibroids and different things like that. But we're not talking enough about like the next stage of life, the next phase of life. And I think because of that, a lot of women fear perimenopause. They fear menopause. And although it is a big transition because it is that stage of your life where it's telling you you're no longer that adolescent, teenager, young adult. You're now moving on into your next stages of womanhood. And that could mean that is like the end of your menstrual cycle and you're leading up into you're not, some may not be able to have children anymore. Your body is going through changes that no one really wants to experience, such as the hot flashes and the mood swings and the brain fog. It gets a little scary. Our risk of osteoporosis increases. The diminishing of our hormones just causes all types of different things like hair loss and skin changes. And it's a very scary time. It can be a very scary time. But at the same time, if we don't discuss it, then how can we help the next woman behind us? How can we help the next generation of women who are going to experience this next phase of life? Now, for me, unfortunately, my next phase of life happened way sooner than I expected. Due to my radical hysterectomy, and many women around the world have entered into menopause prematurely. What I do know is, after the 8 years that I have experienced menopause, it is a very interesting road. It's a very interesting experience, and it can be lonely at times, especially if no one else around you is experiencing it. Because I was so young, of course, there are women my age who are that are in my circle that have not experienced it. So it can be a little stressful. Even for women who are of menopause age going into perimenopause, it can be a little scary. And the reason being is because, oh my gosh, I don't want to tell anybody that I'm going through this. I'm the first. Some may feel like I'm the first one to go through this in my group, and lo and behold, once you start talking about it, you may find that other women have gone through it as well, but they just didn't tell you. I think that it's really important for us to start embracing the different changes and phases of our life. We all know, well, most of us have the opportunity to get to certain stages, not everyone. So every milestone in our lives are something to be cherished. I cherished turning 40, and I'm about to be 42. So I'm cherishing these moments. As, again, 8 years into menopause, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning a lot about my body. I'm still learning about a lot how to manage it, and trying different remedies or not medications, but herbal supplements and different things like that to help manage my menopause. But I know that I'm not alone. Again, which is why I created this platform, and why I share my journey, is because I know that I'm not alone, and I don't want anyone else to feel that they're alone as well. So I encourage you to consider. This is not something that you have to do, because talking about our bodies, talking about what you're going through, can be very stressful for many. Not everyone's able to do this. And I'm not saying create a platform, go on YouTube, go on social media to start talking about what you're experiencing. What I mean is, one, to understand and to embrace the milestone that you are entering. To embrace the phase of life that you are entering. It's easier said than done, because psychologically all you're thinking is, oh, I can't have children anymore, or oh, now I'm old, and now if you're single, like, who's gonna love me? Or if you're married, like, is my husband going to even desire me anymore, because now I am not as you feel as though you lose your femininity, which you do not. I mean, if anything, I feel like your femininity kind of increases even more when you're in menopause. Once you start to see menopause for what it is, that this is just another phase of life, just like your menstrual cycle, it's not too much you can do about it, because this is what happens to a woman's body. We are changing, and We are morphing into an even more, I would say, wise and another graceful period of our lives. Um, Most will say, well, how is it graceful? Because I'm dealing with hot flashes and these mood swings and all this, all this stuff that's going on. Well, I find it to be graceful because you have a lot more knowledge and wisdom to give. Now, again, I'm going to say this is for women going through it naturally, because by this time you've experienced so much in your life. 45, you have a lot to offer other women as far as advice and life, what to expect in life. So you have that. You also have a time to just learn about you again. So this is another time of life where you learn even more about yourself. Even though I went through surgical menopause, I'm dealing with surgical menopause, not natural. I am learning a lot about myself. I'm learning a lot about my body, and it's taken me time to learn more about my emotions, but also how to control my emotions, because I had a really difficult time during the early years of my menopause, that I was just out of control. Like it was hard for me to control my emotions. And yes, that's due to the hormonal changes. Many women and a lot of people will say, well, why don't you just take hormone replacement therapy and different things like that? But some women don't really do well on hormone replacement therapy. So understand, menopause is not one size fits all. What you do or what you works for you will not or may not work for someone else. It may have an absolute different effect to what you are experiencing. So maybe it worked for you. Maybe you feel like you have grabbed life again and it has done you justice. Other women, it actually can increase symptoms of menopause and make it a lot worse for them. And so they cannot take hormone replacement therapy. There are women who can't take it just because of underlying conditions. So if they've had blood clots, if they have a high risk of heart disease or different things like that, some women cannot take it. Or women who have gone through chemotherapy, they cannot take hormone replacement therapy. So it's important. This is the time where you learn so much about your body. You learn a lot about you emotionally and mentally and even spiritually. Through this journey, I have I have prayed. I think I've prayed more in my life during this time, this stage of my life, than anything. And it's literally praying for the strength to get through this, um, praying through my emotions, which has really, really helped me. Praying through just the psychological impact that it has had on me. Again, I was 33, so it played a big role. I'm unable to have children. That played a huge role. That psychologically, it was really rough for me. A lot of depression. Menopause in itself can bring about depression just because of not just a hormonal decrease, but also due to how we view, again, going into viewing this stage of our life. So it's very different for every woman. Nothing is one size fits all. But as I was saying, I think that it's very important for us to talk about this stage of life even prior to it coming. I think it's important to grab your girlfriends and talk about it together, as even if it's you or one or two of you who have entered into menopause, and help your other friends to navigate. I think when you navigate in a group, it brings you comfort. I think when you have a community, because I find like social media is very helpful. It's so crazy because you think just because it's like people from all over the world, right? You just from all over the world. Like I have been in contact with people from England, from Africa, from the Caribbean islands, from other states. And it just is amazing at how they check up on me, I check up on them. When I post, thank you so much for this because this helped me XYZ. It's amazing. That, what we think is such a little thing to do, that is community. And that's something in someone's life, my life included, because I don't have anyone else to talk to about this stage of my life. I do have older women in my family, but as we know, sometimes in some families, we just don't talk about that kind of stuff. And even when you bring it up, they may not experience what you did, right? Because again, they experienced it naturally, and unfortunately, due to my hysterectomy, it just brought on a whole plethora. I mean, all the feels came, all of it. And so it's a lot different. It's a lot different. So when I reach out to my surgical menopause family, it's like, oh wow, you hear me, you get me, you were thinking, you posted just what I was thinking or just what I was feeling today. That's very comforting. So find your community. If this is your community, great, awesome. But create a community within your family, within your circle, within your friend group as well, because it gets you to a point, even if you haven't started menopause yet or perimenopause, once you start preparing and thinking about or creating a community firsthand where you're talking about your emotions, you're talking about how you feel, you're talking about your menstrual cycles, you're talking about just life in general. We have these circles to talk about people, we have these circles to talk about, your relationships. So have this same circle to talk about the different milestones that are occurring in your life as well. Trust me, ladies, it makes a huge difference in how you will approach perimenopause when it comes. And even if you did have a breakdown, it's all right because it's accepted. You have your circle, you have your go-to people to help you transition through this time. And remember, not everyone's going to experience the same thing. So just because you may have a friend who is like just about dying from night sweats, hot flashes, and things like that, it doesn't mean the same will happen for you. I hope this video was helpful and you connected with what I was saying. I also hope that this encouraged you to create your own community within your friends, within your friend group, or within your family to discuss more about women's health. And so if you are not connected with me on Instagram, I encourage you to do so at Millennial and Menopause. If you find this video helpful and you want to join my community, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to like and share as well. Thank you so much for all of your support. And until next time, ladies, be blessed, bold, and beautiful. Bye.